For this walk we start at the southern tip of the Isle of Dogs and we head northwards around the southeastern side. The path stays very close to the river virtually all the way around. It just deviates in a couple of places where it goes behind existing buildings. The path is clearly marked with lots of clear signage, so it's quite easy to follow. This is Island Gardens, which is on the southern tip of the Isle of Dogs, and it's directly opposite Greenwich. You can either get here by the foot tunnel, which is seen here, or by the DLR railway, which stops about 50 yards north. The park is neatly maintained with lots of seats on the riverside, and you can either watch the boats go by or take some pictures of Greenwich and all the landmarks opposite. You've got clear views through to the observatory, Queen's House, Trafalgar pub, Cutty Sark, and everything else Greenwich has to offer. Here you can see the other side of the foot tunnel, which starts just north of the Cutty Sark. There's the Queen's House in the distance, which is well worth a visit. In the very distance you can see the statue to General Wolfe, which sits exactly opposite the Greenwich Observatory. Just downriver from the old Royal Navy College is the Greenwich Power Station, which is now used as a part of the underground system. It houses emergency generators, which are especially designed to quick start in the event of emergencies. You can of course start this walk by getting the river bus service down to Greenwich and then walking through the foot tunnel, or taking the DLR, which also has a stop at the Cutty Sark. Here is the Trafalgar Public House, which is on the opposite bank, which sits right on the river edge. And here's a view of the Cutty Sark Public House, which has been around since 1795. Here's a view of the observatory from the opposite bank, and as you can see it's currently having restoration work done to the masonry and brickwork. As we leave Greenwich behind, we now start to walk around the southeastern edge of the Isle of Dogs, and we start to see other landmarks come into view. As I said before, this is the Greenwich Power Station, together with the coal wharf that's still there. And as we pan round, you'll see the modern housing, which is now replacing all the old industrial units and industrial areas that used to be on this site. There's lots of building work going on here at the moment, so I'm certain this will all change within the next few years. It'll probably be unrecognisable from what you see today. This is the remains of the Newcastle draw dock, which was obviously used for ship repair purposes back in the day, but it's now just a feature, small slipway. Next to the slipway though, you've got some interesting stones which have been relaid into a modern wall. These are the remains of the decorative stones that were in the Cubitt Town Methodist Chapel, which was demolished in 1978. They've been relayed next to the water's edge. The actual chapel was a few hundred yards to the west of these stones in Manchester Road. It's always nice to see parts of London's history reused in this way and kept for modern generations to see. As the O2 starts to come into view, this is where the path deviates behind the back of a large old wharf which still sits right on the edge of the riverfront. It's only a short detour of about 100 yards, but it's not the end of the world. You can see here the O2's Skywalk platform, which is in the middle of the dome. Now we've moved on to the Dungeons Wharf area, and on the riverside is a memorial to the 5 firemen that lost their lives here when a oil tank exploded in 1969. Here's a view to the opposite bank, and we're now looking at Trinity Hospital in Greenwich. Also on the far bank is an unusual view of the Emirates cable car. Looking at it end on, you can see it run from the O2 over to Docklands. If you get bored with looking at the riverside, you can always look at the sky. It's the aircraft circle waiting to land at Heathrow. And if you're looking for unusual things to take a look at, on the opposite bank there's also 2 floating docks. These are used for repairing boats on the river. They're submerged using water pumped in, and then the water's pumped out and the docks lift up, and it gives access to the boats to be repaired. Of course the Thames is still a working river, and you can still see tugs and pleasure craft still using it as they go about their business. I think I'll leave this mode of transport though to those a bit more adventurous than I am. As we proceed along the path and head downriver, we come to Millennium Wharf, where the tenants here are lucky enough to have their own private jetty, along with park benches, flower arrangements and lighting. What a lovely place to see the world go by on a summer's day, I bet. And just along from Millennium Wharf we have this unusual set of steps which lead down into the river. Also from this point onwards we get some great views of Canary Wharf and the skyscrapers in the distance. Upon further investigation, it turns out these steps are a remnant from a water sports centre that was going to be on this site, which was going to be developed back in the 1980s. However, due to local lack of interest, the project was abandoned. But as you can see, the steps remain, and it's an interesting feature which allows you to walk down to the beach here at low tide. This section of path now gets interrupted by the entrance to the Surrey Quays docks, which is immediately obvious by the lifting bridge, which you can see clearly here. It's of course still operational to allow shipping in and out of the docks. Here we turn inland, and crossing Manchester Road we head towards the South Dock, where we follow the south side of it back to the local Docklands Light Railway Station, which is South Quays. All over the docks area you have these small collections of boats and ships which are there for various purposes. Some are houseboats, some are working boats, and some are project ships for local community work. You can take in the amazing architecture in this area, which constantly changes. A lot of these ships are permanently moored here and serve various purposes. Some belong to the local scout projects and community projects, and some just here as restored vessels. And of course occasionally you get the odd millionaire pop in with his play toy, just to take in the sights and sounds of London. I wonder how many business transactions are taking place right now on those satellite phones. Of course, Canary Wharf is constantly changing and still building work going on to this day. I'm sure by the time we get around to do our next video in this area, more buildings will have been added and things have changed. London's a great city. Get out there and explore it. Catch you later.